Hello everybody, my name is Anton. Welcome to a little look at Suzerain, a story-based video game, which it reminds me a lot of 80 Days. If you ever played 80 Days, there's I've made a few videos of that a few years ago, which you should check out because that's a pretty fun game. So it's like a choose-your-own-adventure novel where we are the president of a small little country. So we're just gonna hit new game right now. The game makes it very, very, very clear that you're not allowed to go back and fix saves, right? Like if you make a decision, I'm gonna turn the volume a little bit here. If you make a decision in the game, there's no way to reverse it unless you start up a brand new game. Like it auto saves constantly to make sure that your decisions are, you know, like set in stone. But we shall begin a brand new game. It'll reset my progress. That's fine. I played maybe 30 minutes of this because at first I picked it up. I didn't get a review code for this, but I thought it was going to be like a strategy game based on pictures, but that was not at all what it was. Well, at least, you know, not strategy in the traditional sense. So there's going to be a lot of reading in this video, a lot of story. I don't know how long it's going to take for us to get through even like the prologue, because again, it's very dialogue heavy. So it's 1908, the Kingdom of Sordland. You open eyes to the world, and you came from an impoverished. So we basically like choosing our backstory right here, but I believe will affect decisions that we get once we're actually in the main game, how other countries will feel about us, how certain demographics will feel about us. You know, if we're impoverished, you know, maybe the lower classes will like you more. If you start out from wealthy, you'll have more ties to like organization and stuff like that. So you know what? We'll say we come from a middle income family, the city of Sordland. Your parents named you Anton. As the only child of a diligent civil service, you lived quite an ordinary childhood. Life was not bad. You were lucky enough to attend a well-known public school, but frequent fights broke out in the Rayne family home, and these made you feel uneasy, and the years passed. So it's September 9th, 1923. During a history class at school, the bell rang unexpectedly. You heard a loud commotion outside. As everyone tried to figure out what was going on, the principal announced their historic revolution. The kingdom was no more, and the Republic of Sordland was born. I was just happy that I had the day off, because that's 19. That would make me 15, I think. Yeah, as a 15-year-old, I would love to have a day off. It's 1926. After graduating, you passed the university exam with high marks. You had an opportunity to choose between several studies. You choose. As I am currently actually studying history, so we'll go for history at the Denver University of Culture. And during a first year, you attend a lecture with David Whiskey. He was a well-known diplomat of a foreign ministry and a son of the president. After observing the hall in silence, he explained why realpolitik was important for successful foreign policy. He argued that a strategy based on practical and material factors would be much more successful in reaching Sordland's ambitions. I questioned what I was being taught. In May 22nd, 1927, soldiers entered the campus in the evening ahead of the first election. Many were in shock as the uniformed men created a security cordon and started arresting the teachers. A group of students started gathering in protest along with your best friend Peter Vectron. You decide to, I will protest with the students. One of the officers made a loud announcement that echoed through the campus. General Lutheran declared martial law in order to restore to the administration. Please stand back and disperse to your rooms. You join the students that slowly marched towards a large group of soldiers. Suddenly, the soldiers charged. A student fell and was trampled as everyone started to run away. You know what? I am a coward, so I'm going to run away as well. Unlike the others, you were lucky to escape. It was a gloomy year. The coup split the students into two groups and caused frequent fights. Torture and imprisonment of any opposing voice became daily routine and dear. You didn't want to stay idle and decided to join a human rights group. The group heavily protested against the deteriorating human rights situation in Sordland. Your contribution in thorough discussions on how to protect and expand freedoms. In one of the meetings, Peter introduced you to one of his friends, Monica, who was a volunteer in the Swordist League of Women. You were immediately attracted to, let's say her diligence. The politically charged environment led you to join the Red Youths, the Socialists, join the Young Swords, the Nationalists, or stay away from any political organization. You know, I'm my own man. I'll do my own thing. The radio relayed that the communist general Rickard surrounded Lutheran and his troops, demanding their surrender. They refused, and heavy fighting broke out across the country. You could not believe it. The army was fighting amongst themselves, and Sordland was plunged into chaos. The clashes escalated into full-blown civil war. The horror made you isolate yourself for a while. Medica helped you cope, and love grew between the two of you. However, it was a difficult time for love. 1927 in the Republic of Sordland. The charismatic Colonel Tarlesoil orchestrated a sudden coup and brought an end to the chaos. He wrote a new constitution and restored stability. The people he saw as the savior. He formed the United Sordland Party and ran as a presidential candidate in the first ever elections. And you know what? I voted for the United Sordland Party. The USP won the election by a large majority. After graduation, you kept seeing Monica and noticed her interest to marry. However, a letter arrived from the military calling you to fulfill your compulsory service. It was my time to serve the national duty. A devastating civil war broke out in the neighboring country of Welland. The disintegrated Major Isiv Loxia ordered you to lead your squad on a border patrol mission. It was a very cold winter night when you began marching out of a Gurren outpost, and I could see my breath. After several hours of marching through the snowy hills, distant noises were heard. Visibility was too low to confirm the source. A squad crawled forward in formation and found a spot to observe. A group of refugees made it beyond the border fence. I either escorted them back. I'm gonna let them slip through. I was in the Human Rights Council, so I think this makes sense for my character. After the patrol, Major Lycia arrived with anger and immediately relieved you of your command, calling you a disappointment. One of your squad members had reported your actions. After several months of scrubbing the floors as punishment, your duties ended and you went back to civilian life. 1931. You and Monica decided to share your lives together. After receiving the blessing of her parents, a ceremony was held in Hoslard. During the same year, you worked hard to secure a high-paying job at the governing United Sordland Party. It was much more difficult to start your career on a good foot because of the refugee incident, but you still managed. Why did I do it? It was the best opportunity to change the country for the better. You became a foreign policy assistant to one of the more experienced members of the assembly. You worked long and hard, staying late at work, reviewing dozens of foreign policy plans. I was climbing the ladder. September of 1933. Seoul strengthened the Republic by removing the institutions and any symbols of the former kingdom from society. Things were also looking up for the country as a massive economic boom continued and people were the happiest they'd ever been in a decade. Election time came and it was decided. President Tarkin Sol was elected once more. April 2nd, 1934. The preparation of the most comprehensive trade agreement in Angola was occupying most of your personal time, but your significant contribution to trade talks triggered an invitation to meet President Quadrat Solheim himself, who offered you a key position. You became the youngest member of Assembly. Of course I'm taking it. If I'm climbing that ladder, I'm taking the position. In 1938, as the youngest MP, it was difficult to connect with the influential inner circle. You needed allies, so you brought Peter as your right-hand man. The birth of your son, Frank, provided a brief moment of joy and relief. I will sacrifice some work to spend time with my new family. During your absence, Peter found trustworthy contacts and strengthened your position in the party. At the same time, President Sol increased authority over the years. His growing ego started to cause strife within the party. 1945. President Sol barely secured a majority in the election against the opposition leader. Over the past few years, people were growing discontent with corruption and a worsening quality of life. Meanwhile, calls for United Sordland Party Congress became louder as the leadership struggle started to brew, and I will join the opposition because I want to become president. I'm going to join the opposition. You gave your support to Ewald Afonso, a reformist and talented business magnate, who was the main contender for party leadership. Meanwhile, in a desperate effort to secure votes before the Congress, President Sol was meeting party members one by one. But he didn't approach me. August of 1946. The party Congress was nothing short of impressive. The banners of United Sordland were decorated in every possible spot. Thousands of influential political figures, lobbyists, and benefactors gathered for this turning point. The vote for leader had begun, and I voted for Ewald Afonso. September 1st, 1946. The efforts bore fruit as the contentious leadership vote was won by Ewald Afonso. During the Congress, Sol announced his retirement from politics. You knew the structure he had established once was to stay. The country would become increasingly authoritarian, and I was happy that Sol was finally leaving. October 15th, 1946. A month later, your daughter was born. Monica named her Dina. She motivated you during turbulent period in the party. The general elections were approaching, and the United Sordland Party was under the leadership of Edward Alfonso. You joined the party effort and campaigned for him. 1949. During the general election, the main opposition leader was embroiled in a sex scandal with the secretary, diminishing their chances. The extensive privatization program proposed by Alfonso secured an electoral victory for the United Sordland Party. Over the next years, you climb the ladder, make place better. I will try to climb the ladder and get more influence within the party. The president of Alfonso saw many bold reforms, but was followed by serious economic recession. The other parties announced their bid for the 1953 election, but the unfair system hampered all opposition to the win. I was worried about the economic recession. Together with Peter, your president of the USP grew and you became the face of the new wing of the party. You effectively took over leadership as President Alfonso lost control of the country. The moment to make a move had come. I advised him to step down. He didn't take your advice seriously and started to reshuffle his cabinet, but most of his inner circle abandoned him. Your diplomatic aptitude made the party vote you in as the leader. Following this, you announced that you would be running for president in the general election with Peter as your running mate. You're right, it is my turn. And in October 1953, after visiting every city and town during the campaign, you made a speech on state television. I promised to enact democratic reforms. The people were tired of empty promises. We need to fulfill change in our institutions and government. A solid and transparent democracy awaits us, brothers and sisters. A new constitution and a new age is upon us. The broadcast has ended. November 5th, 1953. On election day, millions went out to cast their votes. It was time to face the truth. How do we do? You win. There's no way you don't win. I'm pretty sure. Every decision there just really leads to victory in the end. But again, I'm sure they do have implications down the road. In Chapter 1, President Rayne. So, as Anton Rayne, you made many promises to people of Sordland to gain their vote. They must be considered very carefully. Economy. Sordland's economy has been based on planned doctrine since its formation until President Alfonso enacted free market reforms. Now the country finds itself between two different economic systems, which we can either do free market or planned economy. Diplomacy. The intensifying global rivalry between capitalist Arcasia in the west and communist United Cortana in the east is opening new diplomatic possibilities. Sordland could take steps to align itself closer to one of them. And immigration. In recent years, Bulwish, Wazak, and Angolan immigrants flocked to Sordland due to reflex immigration laws enacted by Edward Alfonso. As a result, tension between swords and immigrants had been increasing. So, what are we going to do? We're going to promote planned economy. We're going to we're not going to align with either power. And we'll keep immigration relaxed. We'll kind of go for like a Yugoslavia approach here. And election promises. We've been promised to focus a certain extent on the subject and within our first term. People expect us to solve the negative situation within the topic while providing an overall improvement to the related policies. So we got health, education, law enforcement, and the military. I think it makes most sense. Yeah, I mean, if life expectancy in our country is dropping, we're probably going for like a health focus here. 2 weeks have passed since we won the election, and now I was about to be sworn in as the fourth president of Sordland. Thousands were watching the Inauguration and cheering my name, Anton Rayne. The die was cast, and my story there began. In a distance, the Maroon Palace stood on top of that famous Hill of Pride. I had no way of knowing what the future awaited me. I looked at my family, my son and daughter. Frank and Dina were next to my Monica, my wife. Her eyes were glimmering with pride. Then I turned towards the key people who made it all possible. Of course, each individual was promised an important position in my cabinet. As my thoughts slowly faded away, the reality of the situation dawned on me. Orson Hawker, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was waiting for me. So basically, as you can see here, this right here is Orson Hawker. He's Chief Justice. What we can do is, we can basically click on any of these things. It gives a little bit of a description. So you want to know about Orson Hawker, Chief Justice. You got a little biography here about a bunch of things, and again, you can actually click in further. You can look at other people. You can probably read this thing for hours if you wanted to. I've been looking around this. I do like that our son basically just does not have a description whatsoever. Our son is meaningless. We don't like our son, apparently. Our daughter has a little bit more, and then our wife also. I mean, who needs family, right? Orson Hawker, it's time for the oath has come. I am ready. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear that I will respectfully execute the office of President of Sordland, and to do the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the people and the Constitution of the Republic of Sordland. You may now deliver your inaugural speech, Mr. President. It is an honor. Dear citizens of Sordland, the crowd looks very eager to listen to me. The current dire situation. We are currently enduring economic hardship like never before, and today our nation is falling apart. Our people, we suffer in dire situation. In the past, there have been many times of survival, times of conflict and economic hardship too, but whenever we stood together, we prevailed. I promise you, we will stop the recession and eliminate poverty. Very big goals right there. Change now, not in the next decade or years, today. 100,000 cheered. They were shouting my name in unison. I felt the responsibility to power and burden all at the same time. I raised my fist in the air, which triggers a huge applause. It took a long time for the people of Sordland to burn this moment into my memory. One of the President Guard came to notify me that it was time to leave. I made my way to the leading car in the motorcade. The President's state car was a jet black Cadillac, the flag of Sordland above the red headlights, and next to it the man was holding a door. Sergei Wolkner, who is my driver, who has a much bigger description than I think my wife, son, and daughter combined. Well, hello, Mr. President. Still under the effect of the speech I made, hearing my new title made me smile. If you allow me to introduce myself, I am Sergei, your new driver. It is a pleasure. The pleasure is all but mine. He respectfully bowed his head before opening the car door and gesturing inside, and I entered the car. We'll be heading towards the palace. The motorcade began to move. On the way, Sergei proceeded to explain his duties as a driver. As minutes passed by, I found myself lost in thoughts again, barely paying attention to what he was saying. He suddenly made a gesture towards a new, closer palace. Isn't it a beauty? The Maroon Palace. He was right. Sunlight glinted off the palace's many maroon-colored domes. It was so bright that I had to look away. Every time I look at it, I am reminded of my duty to this nation. I could be like, it's just a building. So do I, Sergei. Is the beating heart of the nation after all. Well said, Mr. President. The car drove past the majestic gates, continued uphill to the entrance, and steps in front of the doors. Sergei got out of the car and opened the door for me. Have a great day, Mr. President. Amorge was core. He refers to the famous sort of phrase at the time of revolution. Amorge was core. Visin Sigda, which means morning will come, victory is close. Rekren Sida. I've been waiting ace upstairs through the extravagant corridors of the palace. Marble and engraved wooden finishes decorated the interior. My footsteps echoed in the colossal halls. The guards bowed their head in respect as they opened the massive doors to my new office. And of course, you can see here, we're saving the game right away. So, I mean, we'll probably go a little bit longer for this, just to kind of get more, don't hit the microphone, get a little bit more into, you know, in depth here. So right now, this is the map of Sordland. We have a bunch of, little cities, some major cities, and we have, of course, neighboring countries right here, all of which you're able to, you know, read some newspapers about, get some information about the city. Like this guy right down here, Republic of Lesbia, 79 million people. They're President of the Republic. They speak Lesbian, and you know, there's a lot of information about these people. Most of them have just, you know, congratulating me, thank you from the president. This guy up here, nope, this guy up here is not sending me any congratulations. That's very rude of you. We have bad relations. You know what? Okay, fair enough. I can understand that then. You are saying congratulations. You're congratulating me as well. Thank you, everybody. And of course, we have some stuff here. Read a report from Avery. This city needs what do you call it? Some investment. It's kind of the same. Like most places, kind of have low production. Like there's a lot of information that's kind of like thrown at you. And we have some newspapers from 6 different papers here. All of them kind of having different political aligning. You got the Economist, which is definitely more free market. You got the Radical, which is probably going to be more towards like the socialist side of things. The Sordland Post, Sordland Today. Basically kind of like generic newspapers. The Port of Lawrence has lost importance. Well, see, Basically, when it says that, the game is trying to basically say, hey, this city wants some port support. You know, improve the port, make it more important, and it'll help us out a great deal. It'll probably make the city vote for us in the future whenever we have to do re-election, which I don't know when that is. But in our capital, briefing the current political situation, Peter Vector arrived a couple minutes early and sat across from me. He was struggling to hold back his smile. We did it, Anton! We won! Finally! All those years in our noses to the grindstone paid off. Peter's eyes sparkled. The strain of the past months had put a damper on his usual radish charm, but today he was looking and acting more like his old self. He loosened his tie and undid the top 2 buttons of his shirt. Which is, you are the vice president? You were my friend from university, right? I believe so. Enjoying a new secretary I picked for you. Thought you'd appreciate her gorgeous set of talents. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't as easy on the eyes. He gestured a slight punch that protruded over his waistband. Hey! Back in university, did you ever imagine we would be sitting here in the Room Palace? We need to celebrate this great victory. Let's celebrate the inaugural ball. It's not time for celebration. You know what? We got a 30-year-old bottle of wine. I opened the expensive bottle of whiskey. Oh, it's whiskey. Whatever. I opened up the expensive bottle of whiskey and poured it into 2 glasses I prepared. Exquisite smell filled the room immediately. In 1924, that was my freshman year. Also the year after the revolution. Very difficult times to be honest, but the smells like heaven. The future awaits, Peter. And we'll have a nice little toast. I raised my glass and toasted with Peter for smelling the whiskey and taking a sip. The sweet vanilla tone combined with an oaky taste developed into a lingering smokiness. Peter seems to be enjoying himself. What a taste. This is how we should start all meetings, Anton. We want to get much done. Remember the last administration? Yeah, but we're different. Oh, they're just enjoying the privilege. We can't make the same mistakes again. We learned from it all. Yes, we did. Be very confident. The door swung open and Lucia Gade, my chief strategist, walked in. He was a compact man with sharp bird-like features. After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down, poured a glass of water, and opened his briefcase with a series of quick, graceful movements. Gentlemen, a tall case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock. Damn, you're exactly on time. Hello, Peter. Lucien turned towards me. He is very slightly bowed his head. Glad to see you too, Lucien. Let's not waste any time. Lucien, he seems like a no-nonsense man. No, let's not waste time, Lucien. Go ahead with the overview. As you wish, sir. Lucien spoke in soft, clipped tones that immediately drew your attention towards what he had to say. Peter and I waited for him to proceed. We will start the meeting by evaluating the current situation. The majority of Sordland's people demand change. They are more concerned about the economy than the Constitution, but they blame the system for their problems. Peter, people are losing their trust in our democracy. This frustration even causes some of the reason figures like Bernard Sikas expected that we bring the change the last government did not. Who are you? You're a Sword's poet, novelist, or story writer. Leader of the Sword Avant-Garde. He joined the Red Youth during the Sword Civil War, fled Sordland during the war was over. Okay. The Communist University of Quao. And you are the leader of the Reformist. Okay. And Franz Victor, leader of the Reformers, believes that true change can be done by transforming some of the powers into the Assembly. I'll move into the details of their demands shortly. We need to listen to people if we want to serve this country. That's literally what we campaigned for, a true change in the country to move forward. We need many allies against the old guard in the government. Mr. Victor managed to influence many members of the Assembly to give their support for drafting a new constitution. Reformist politicians are quickly increasing in number. While the reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, they could have a tripartisan majority in the Assembly, especially if they unite under Franz Richter. Okay, so what are we going to do here? The reformists aren't wrong to agree that we need change, but we should be in charge. Mr. Richter could be a potential ally in our goal to maintain a majority in the Assembly. He's definitely key in this. The reformist demands are clear. They want to limit the president's veto powers, ensure the Supreme Court is independent, and taking away their right to vote on constitutional amendments. In the reformist, a loose alliance of reform supporters are backed by a large opposition party called the People's Freedom and Justice Party. There are many socialists, communists, and liberals who are in dispute about the future. Unfortunately for them, the unfair campaign finance system limits their chances of coming to power, and more liberal faction, the United Sordland Party, has also grown because of this. Do we want to support them outright? We must listen to their demands. I agree, it's better not to go against the winds of change that is raging in the country at the moment. The old guards will do their best to preserve the Constitution. Chief Justice Hawker and his aligned judges have a great influence over the Supreme Court, which will be tough to break. The court also has enough power over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we can't even change it. Yes, we need a comprehensive bill to balance the power structure more fairly. I agree the old guard won't like this, though. And the old guard, influential individuals of the government. A comprehensive reform that would make the reformers happy would mean maintaining a balance between all branches of the government, which means removing our absolute veto as well. Reformers demand the loopholes in the Constitution to be fixed. It looks like we have many challenges ahead. We'll figure it out. Our party holds 130 out of 250 seats in the Assembly. That is power. In order to reform the Constitution, we must receive a 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166 votes, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court, which equates to 6 votes. After we have settled our thoughts on how to proceed, we'll need to talk to our party figures. Our first goal must be to get the 150 signatures we need to start the process. Following the green light of the USP, we will reach out to other party leaders to see if we can get back into our draft. In the last step is to convince the judges of the court. The entire process will take a long time. We will start working with the Reform Committee to evaluate all possibilities for a new constitution as soon as possible. We'll write a democratic constitution with the reformist. That's what we've been preparing eternally. People elected us because of our promise for democratic reforms. And the key thing here will be strengthening the power of the Assembly, which will already lead to majority. Peter nods in agreement. Yes, the division of powers need to be rebalanced for a better Sordland. According to the initial draft we have made with the reformists, there are 2 changes to the Constitution that are not open to further discussion. The first, the Supreme Court will no longer vote on constitutional amendments. The second, the President's absolute veto power will be taken away. This can be replaced with a limited veto system by fixing the current loopholes. I have no problem with these clauses. Let's work with the reformist. The Supreme Court. Highest legal body for constitutional and judicial review. Okay, we'll work with them. Yes, sir. We'll form out the Reform Committee together with all parties and start reaching out for all the stakeholders in the Assembly and the Court for a new constitution. More important information about the requests for each party and reform contents will be available later this year. Another important point. We must be aware of Lothenberg Group. The oligarchs convene under the group to influence economic policies. According to reports, some members of the National Business Council are in their pockets. They will surely try to bribe us for their special economic interest. I will not be bought. It won't happen. Lucien looks at Peter. As far as I know, Simon Hall has some ties to the group, and we may try to use his influence if we deem it necessary. I'm aware Mr. Hall's a wide network, and that will come in handy. Peter Victon, we just need to be careful. We need to tread carefully on all sides with all power players in order to survive our term. Well, that's it, General. Precisely 30 minutes. I mean, actually, almost like exactly 30 minutes into this video. This concludes our political briefing for today. Our next meeting will be about medical strategy. Talk to you soon, sir. I will keep in touch. See you in the next morning, Lucien, Anton. Lucien and Peter bid their farewells and left. Again, we're going to get another save game. And as you can see, there is a lot of... See, you're reading. This is a meeting. And you're a briefing as well. But I think you kind of get the point at this point. Kind of, you know, what this game will entail. We'll look at some other things here. We do have a journal on turn 1. We've won the election. Clear my intents to work with the reformist. There is a bunch of laws here. You also can see like the situation. We have problems with organized crime. We got problems with bleak transportation links. All of these will probably eventually be fixed the further along you go in the game. We have our cabinet. You know, you can see everybody who's doing everything. We have the factions, which are the oligarchs, the old guard, and the reformist. We got the legislative, which has the USP with 130 seats. We got the PFJF, which got 70 seats. The NFP, which has 40 seats. And we got a handful of independents. And then in the judiciary, this is the Supreme Court. It's mostly old guard. We got some centrists and some reformists. Well, we'll kind of see what we can actually get swinging there. But if you want to see more videos on this game, just leave a comment down below. And I think, what if I end this video exactly 30 minutes? Just like that meeting. It's going to take like 4 seconds. And there won't be like an outro. It'll just kind of stop. But I hope that's okay.